Okay, this is going to be part two, sort of the what are sharps and flats. And I introduced in the last video what they are. Quick review. Sharps, when you say sharp symbol, it's like a tic-tac-toe sign, right? Or hashtag. When you're using that symbol, what you're referring to is the process of elevating a pitch to a next higher pitch note. So you have to have a reference note. If the sharp symbol means, hey, take this note over here and raise it into the next higher note, then naturally the question should be, well, what note? What note am I raising by a note? See? So you need to have what I'm calling a reference note. So if my reference note is A and then I put a sharp in front, it means, okay, take A and raise it by one to the next available higher note. Okay? So that's what sharp means. If I take F, the note F, and then I want to raise it to the next higher note that's higher than F, the immediately higher note, that would be F sharp. And the flat is, it's like a the symbol looks like a lowercase b sort of, but like a little different. Like the circular part of the bottom of the B is like elongated like an egg sort of. I'm out here like driving right now, so I can't, I'm not able to edit these videos, but you could just Google what does a flat symbol look like. And flat, just like if your tire were to be flat, if I came out, my tire pressure was a little, like my tire looked a little flat, right? Not like to the ground, but like it just looked like a little squishy. I would say, oh man, my tire's flat, right? It's less, it has less pressure. So less, lower, flat, right? So the same way when you see the flat symbol, it means to make the note lower, okay? And likewise, the flat symbol means take this note over here on that side and make it lower by one note to the next note that's immediately lower. So what note are you talking about though? Okay, so you need to have a letter there then. If I say B, the note that I'm talking about, my reference note is B, then I put a flat in front, I'm like, oh, okay, so take the note B and make it one note lower. Play the note that's below B. Oh, B flat is the note that's below B. Alright? G flat is the note that's below G. See what I mean? So a sharp is a note that's above a note, and a flat is a note that's below a note. That being stated, I wanted to go more into the notes in general and how the sharps and the flats, they fit into the context of things. Okay? So there are, in all, let's go through the musical letters, right? The alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's 7 notes. And then it goes to A again, which is called the octave. It's the next note again. Let me tell you something. In New York City, bus drivers used to be classy when I was growing up. But in the last decade, they have really hired some lowlives to drive these buses. I'm just gonna put it like that. This guy was just blowing on me because the light changed and I didn't go right away. Anyway, look, we're trying to do good things out here in life, and there's always distractions, like bad things that try to come. But we're gonna continue. 7 A, B, C, D, E, F, G is 7 letters, and then A is the octave. Those are not all of the notes though. Remember, we've been talking about sharps and flats. So like sharps are the notes above a letter. Flats are the notes below a letter. So what that means then is there's notes in between the letters. So it goes like this: A sharp, B, as you're going up in pitch. A, the next note that's higher than A in pitch is A sharp. And then the next note that's higher than A sharp is B. So you have A and you have B next to each other, and in between is the sharp note. Okay, A sharp, B. But just like how you probably have a family member or a friend who has sort of two names. They have like a nickname, or maybe they're called like my brother, right? His middle name is what we call him. Like his actual real name, his first name, nobody calls him that. They call him by his middle name. Right? So he has two names. Like we all, like many, well, not everybody has a middle name, but most people do. So you have two names. But if you call me by my middle name, you're still talking about me. But most time people call me by my first name. Or they might call me, they might say Dan, they might say Danny, they might say Daniel. It depends, right? On how my relationship to them, or how they just like to call. I'm not super particular about it anyway, but some people are. But anyway, you could call the same person different names, or even by a nickname, right? So what happens is, just forgive me, the driving is kind of crazy. Like people acting stupid out here right now, you know. Music theory made simple in crazy driving situations. Multitasking. Anyway, you have the notes are like those people that have different names. You can be playing the same note on a piano, right? And you could call it A sharp, or you can call it B flat, and you're talking about the same note. It depends on the context of what you're dealing with, and I'll get more into that in the future. I'll be getting more into that. But what happens is you have the same note. You have A and you have B, those are the letters, but the note higher than A is A sharp, right? But the note lower than B is B flat. But I just said there's only one note between A and B. That means that one note has two names. If you're referring to it as the note above A, then you call it A sharp. But if you're referring to the same exact note as the note below B, then you're gonna be calling it B flat. See? So it has two names, and we use one name or the other depending on the context we're in. What do I mean by context? I will have to provide information for that later. We're not ready for that yet. But just for now, just take it as it is. There's one note between A and B, and depending on the context, we're gonna call it A sharp, or we'll call it B flat. It's the note above A or the note below B. Clear? Okay, so let's do another example. We have the note D and we have the note E, and those are the letters in the musical alphabet, because they go from the letters in the musical alphabet go from A to G, and then they repeat again back to A. Between D and E, there's a note. So you got notes between the letters. I mean, I don't know, don't ask me. I'm not the one who decided to design this way. This is how they did it for whatever reason. I guess, you know, people that were a lot smarter than me, they decided that this was ideal. They're like, you know, let's do A to G, and then we're gonna put letters between. We're gonna put notes between the lettered notes, and we're gonna call them sharps and flats. So the sharps and flats are notes between the letters. I hope that's clear. I hope that makes clear sense. The sharps and flats are notes that are between the letters. The letters are notes too, but the notes between the letter notes are sharps and flats. And so we can do between D and E now. Say, okay, there's D, then there's a note between D and E, and then there's E. See? There's a note between D and E. So what is that note? Okay, so we have D. What's the note above D? D sharp. See? So D, then there's one note before E, there's a note in between, D sharp, and then E. D, D sharp, E. Counting upwards. D, D sharp, E. Okay? But what if you were to look at the same exact note that's between D and E and refer to it by its other name? Then you could say, oh, okay, I have D, a note between D and E, and then I have E, right? So D, the note between, and then E. Well, if I'm looking from the perspective of E and I say, oh, that note, that's one note beneath E, then I could call it E flat. So I would say D, the note that's below E, E flat, E. I'm talking about the same exact note. So D sharp is E flat. It's the same note. It just has two names. Like my middle name is Louis, right? My father's name, there's a lot of Louis in my family, right? And so they call me that by my middle name, but nobody really calls me that, right? But I am Louis. I am Louis or Louis, depending on how you pronounce it, right? But like my name is Daniel, my first name. See, okay, so basically, you're talking about the same guy. It's just got two names. So like the letter D sharp is the same as the letter E flat. It's just you call it by one name or the other depending on whether you're dealing with sharps or flats at the time. Okay, so let's do another example between the letter F and the letter G. You could say F, the note above F, F sharp, and then the note G, F, F sharp, G. Or if you're thinking about it in terms of flats, you could say, well, F, the note that's below G, then G. F, G flat, G. And this is how it works. And for more practice, let's go from G to A. Because what happens is, like, let's say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A comes after G, right? So you're going to, like, from G to A, it's the same way there's a note between. So if you're talking about the note above G, you could say G, G sharp, A. Or you could look at it from the flats perspective and give that same note that's between the G sharp, you could give it the note A flat. So counting, this is how you think about it. G, the note that's below A flat, and then A. So G, A flat, A. Okay, so I'm teaching here. I'm trying to take my time. I think that will translate well to the video, and I hope it's clear so far. So you can go through all of the letters and just say, okay, there's a sharp. If I'm looking at it from sharps, I could just put sharps, name it the note above the letter that I just passed. Or if I'm doing flats, I could just call it the letter the flat of the letter I'm about to get to, if that makes sense. So like A sharp, B, like so forth, right? And we go up. But there's a rule, the B, C, E, F rule, I think is what I called it last time. If it's not complicated enough, don't blame me, I don't make the rules. I'm just here to try to make it possible and easy to memorize the rules. Between the note B and C, there's not a note between those two letters. So in the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, between B and C, there's not a letter. So I said there's sharps and flats between the letters. right? But between B and C, there's not a letter. There's not a note physically between. If you go on a piano, B and C are right next to each other. There's no note between. Or on a guitar, anywhere. If you go on a piano, between E and F, there's no note. They're right next door to each other. So what happens is B and C and E and F, the B, C, E, F rule, between these two, there's no note between, so you just got to memorize that. If you memorize those two, then everything else sorts out. Because between any other letter, you could be like, hang on, is it B, C, or E, F? No, okay, so between B and C, there's not a note. So there's no B sharp. There's no C flat. Technically, that's not. I don't want to complicate things right now. Just know there's no note between. I'll just put it here. If you're talking about a B sharp, B is your reference note and sharp is the note above B, right? That's what sharp means. The next note after B. The next note after B is C. So B sharp is C. They're the same note with two names. Why would I call a C a B sharp? It depends. It depends. Sometimes that happens. It's confusing, but this is how it works, okay? So I can't say there's no such thing as B sharp or C flat. It's just C flat is B because the note below C is B. But don't worry about this right here. See, don't get confused by it. It don't matter right now. Just suffice it to say there's no note between B and C. There's no note between E and F physically. So even if you ever saw symbols, these simple symbols on it, sharp or flat, it doesn't mean to change. It doesn't mean a letter between them. There's no letter between them, okay, physically. So what happens is if I go through all of the notes calling out the sharps, it will be like this. A sharp, which is the note above A. B, there's no B sharp because there's no note between B and C, so C. We go back to the beginning and go through all of them. A sharp, B, C, because there's no note between B and C. C sharp, the note between. D sharp, E, F, because there's not a note between E and F. F sharp, G sharp, A. And what I just did is I went through all of the possible notes. So if you can do this, now you know the names of all of the notes. A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And you just went around the world through all of the notes. There's 12 notes altogether. And this 12 note, between all of these 12 notes is what you call an octave. Okay? Because it repeats again. The same thing. Now, up an octave, A sharp, B, like that. If you're talking about, so we did all of the letters and the notes that are between the letters. And just with the exception between B, C, and the exception between E, F, there's no notes there, so we don't put a sharp there. If we were to call the same exact notes, but from the perspective of flats, it would be like this. A, then the note below B, B flat. You might have to listen to this video a couple, 3-4 times. I would recommend it. Like, listen to it, then come back tomorrow and be like, huh? Like, I understood it up until like 5 minutes. Then I'm like, oh, went crazy. Like, this is going so fast. Your brains need time for familiarity, and I will be repeating this stuff over and over and going through it nice and slow to make it easy. It's a lot of jargon at once, but I would recommend come back, listen to it again, then come back listening to it again until like the whole video makes sense, and you're like, oh, that was, I don't know why yesterday it didn't make sense, but like now it's easier because your brain needs time to process the new information. Okay, So going from the perspective of flats, we're gonna always call the letter that's the note between the notes is the next is the flat of the note. So if we have three notes, right? C and D, right? C sharp D, or C D flat D. See what I mean? Depending on which way you're looking. So we're gonna call the flats that are between the letters, and between B and C and E and F there's no letter. There's no note, so there's no flat between them either, okay? So we're gonna do like this. I'm gonna go through all of the 12 notes. A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, and we're back at A again. I don't know, like today's a crazy driving day. Like I'm on a back street here where I've never even seen a car at this hour, and somebody came to distract me. So let me make sure I got that right again, all right? A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D. Right, so we're up to 6 notes. E flat, E, F, G flat, G, A. Okay? So let's go through all the letters again. A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A. I might have messed it up because I'm trying to count and drive and stuff at the same time. There's 12 notes all together. I think I missed the E flat. All right, so for one more time for clarity. A, B flat, B, C, no flat between B and C, D flat, D, between D and E, right? D, E flat, E. Between E and F, it's just E, F. From F to G. F, G flat, G. From G to A. G, A flat, A. So, again, like you could practice like this, but here's the thing. You don't really need to. What you need to know is that there's, between every letter, there's a sharp or a flat, depending on what you want to call it at the time. And between B and C and E and F, there's not sharps and flats. So this is a very important topic. I'm going to be spending some time going through practice drills. And I may do those as shorts. As shorts. Just so it's not too long like this. But this needs to be solid for us to move forward. So I would recommend that you take the time to really master being confident and finding them. So then when we start to add to the concepts and we cross-reference topics, and I might talk about how how in the key of G it's there's an F sharp, and so like if you're gonna play the a major 7 chord, you're gonna use the seventh note is going to be an F sharp. You need to know what I'm talking about here. Like, what does that mean? Where do I find an F sharp? Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's gonna everything's gonna build on it. But here's the introduction and how to know all of the possible notes by understanding what the sharps and the flats are, and we'll understand why would we use sharp or flat like that. Why would I choose to use it to call it a sharp or a flat? That will be explained in future videos when we get into more advanced topics. All right, that's all for now. Have a great day. Peace.